indispensable. It makes perfect sense. All this guy's been trying to tell us, we don't do interstate. The Highway Patrol does interstate. Never mind. I'll just let somebody get killed. Now, the reason we know about this 911 exchange is because it was offered in the investigation of the accident that happened 5 minutes after this woman hung up. When a car hit the mattress on the San Jose interstate, flipped, and a passenger in that car was killed. After that accident happened, somehow, and I don't know the details, they learned that somebody had called, and this text then emerged in the investigation of why that mattress wasn't taken care of and how that accident happened. Okay? That's a sobering conclusion to this particular struggle between the social rules that we create. And so the question then becomes for us as communicators is at what moment in this process could I have seen a bifurcation point and done something different? And made a different social world, a social world in which that accident could not have happened. You get that? Instead of creating a social world which allowed for the possibility of the accident, what could have been done differently among these people to create a social world where it doesn't? One of my students, when I asked that question, said, you know, when she first called, what if that dispatcher would have said, are you driving in your car right now? Yeah. You know, and expressed a concern for her and maybe suggested that she pull over to the side of the road and they could have a different kind of conversation instead of her trying to yell at this guy while she's driving and maybe preventing a, you know, there's a social world there where another kind of accident is possible. You get that? And so at every moment there is that choice. Management consultant Hilda Carpenter talks about these moments in this way. Every conversation has an afterlife in the memories of those involved and the experience of those affected by it. When the San Jose paper read the article on the investigation of this accident is when you realize that that social world created between that driver and that 911 dispatcher had an afterlife. Think about the woman who made the phone call and wasn't successful in getting that mattress taken off the interstate and what she's living with. Think about that 911 dispatcher and what he must be living with. And then think about their families and how this event has affected, and that social world they created in that conversation is affecting the families of those people. Think about the victim. Think about the person driving the car. Think about the unknown individual driving that truck or whatever where that mattress fell off, who may not even have realized the mattress was off. That conversation of social world created by those two people in that particular moment had an afterlife that affected and continues to shape the social world that those people engage in. I'm almost out of time, but let me just finish with some other time I'll come back and show you the Far Side cartoon that Gary Larson thought was the funniest one that he ever wrote that nobody ever got. But instead I want to finish with this. I live in North Little Rock. And so where I work now, downtown, or when I was here, I'd get on the interstate every morning. And I'd have to cross 3 lanes of interstate where I would get on. In order to get to Little Rock, if I didn't cross them fast enough, it was pretty quick, I'd be on my way to Fort Smith. So when you get on in the morning, when rush hour is starting to pick up, you really depend on the kindness of strangers to allow you to go. And normally you manage it very well. One morning I got in my car, got in the first lane fine, moved over to the second lane fine. I had to get over that critical third lane. And there was somebody coming down the third lane that was driving fairly quickly. And I had to go through that little algorithm in our brain that we all use where I had to decide, do I have time to speed up and get enough in front of this person before we veer off? Can I slow down and let them pass in time? And while I still have time to get over? And I decided that because traffic was backing up right around the curve, that I could get over in front. They had plenty of time to slow down. Wasn't a big safety issue, so I did that. I pulled over. And I looked at my rearview mirror, and here comes this car barreling down, and he looked like the person was coming like 80 miles an hour. And they came right down behind me and got right up on the back of my car. And I'm thinking to myself, what is the deal? We're getting ready to slow down here up here anyway. What's the big deal? Settle down. And before I could do anything, zoom into the outside lane this person came, and it was a woman driving this car. I don't know why it's important. It's really not. It was what it was. This woman comes up, drives up right next to me, and starts laying on the horn. And so I looked. You know, how can you not? And when I look and I'm driving, this is what I see. She's driving on the horn. As soon as I look, she goes. And so I don't know why. I've never been, it's the only time in my life, honestly, the only time in my life I've ever had anybody flip me off. This is what I did. In the moment, this is what I did. I'm driving, I look, she's like this, and I did this. the best part of the story. Now we're driving, traffic's slowing down up around the curve, and Brian is like, what happened? We're right next to each other now, stuck in traffic for the next 5 minutes. And the whole time we're stuck, I'm making little love taps on my horn. And when, there's a bifurcation point. There is a social world. I don't know what I would have normally done. I would have absorbed that. I would have been angry about it. I would have ruined my day. I couldn't wait to get to school to tell everybody the story about, guess what happened to me? And so I told all my students in every class, this is awesome. And what I told was, I think what has happened is there's somebody in town now who thinks they flipped off somebody they know. I go to church with that guy? Who was that guy? Now, the persistence of the social world that we create, I can only believe. One is, I can't wait for somebody else to flip me off because I'm going to do the same thing. I mean, it's like, it's like an entirely different reframing of that experience. But I really do think maybe that woman, from that moment forward, at the very least, check very carefully to make sure she didn't know the person before letting them have it. You know what I mean? I think that type of social world, that kind of change persists. We finish where we start. It's not necessarily about the message. It's not about communication being a commodity. It's about the way in which we manage the relationships we're in and the means that we allow to emerge from those. And it's about realizing as a mindful communicator, it's not about if I joke, you laugh, or if I teach, you learn. It really is about if we joke, we laugh, and if we teach, we learn. If we manage those moments appropriately and take advantage of the opportunities to change the social worlds that we create at every turn of every conversation that we have. Okay. This has been great. No, I found this. This is, Hello Kitty giving you the bird. You didn't see this? Yeah. Come on. My students see it immediately. Before I tell a story, they start laughing. You thought she was just doing this. Hello Kitty.
Well, thanks, Mike. And now that he's got us afraid of saying anything for fear of changing the social world, we're going to ask you to communicate a little bit, and Steve's going to take some notes. What in the presentation you saw today, the teaching demonstration, can you take away to your field? And we'll take some bullets, and you'll see these in our newsletters later. Anything that you saw?
It just reminded me about the importance of being present in the moment and really being aware of what's going on instead of, as you say, looking through it to that end.
Other comments? Let's go ahead, Joe.
Me and my teaching to pay more attention to where they are coming from and working with their experiences and their
Mike always said he didn't use PowerPoint a lot. He just demonstrated to me I've got to learn a lot more about PowerPoint. Be a little more creative than that, and that was useful.
Yeah.
So the power of PowerPoint.
Prezi.com for any of you that are interested in this. It's an amazing infinite zooming web-based presentation software. It's called Prezi.com, Prezi.com.
That lectures can be interesting and interactive. I learned how powerful stories can be to make a point. Because I learned that before from Mike, but I never seem to be able to do it as well as I would like, because I'm constantly reminded the value of a story, just trying to make it real. Yeah, for students.
Students from my class. Students in my class were always disappointed that there wouldn't be questions on the test about my brother, Tom. I think they knew more about him than they did about the subject matter.
Other comments?
The absence of communication and its impact on the environment. When communication is not occurring, that it's still communication. I mean, it impacts the relationships.
Sometimes questions that you think that one thinks is naive or unsophisticated, or if they haven't